Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Lincolnshire series, a district of 56 parishes in the north of Lincolnshire. Let's see which one we're visiting today. Welcome back to North Lincolnshire once again. Today I've got one of the smallest places this district has to offer, and my start and my end point is here, outside the old forge on Race Lane. I'll be going that way and then round in a big loop and coming back out through the churchyard and along Middlegate Mews back to this point here. Today we're in Melton Ross. This North Lincolnshire episode is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find her link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. This is Melton Ross, a small village lying just to the south of the M180 motorway at Junction 5, just west of Kirmington and just east of the town of Brigg. The village is on the busy A18 and also National Cycle Route 1. Traffic through the village increased with the opening of Humberside Airport, the former RAF Kirmington, 1 mile to the east, in 1974. The village was originally known as Medeltone, meaning middle farmstead, whilst Ross refers to the de Ross family, who used to own all the land the present settlement lies upon. The mound of the stronghold which the de Ross family held can be seen quite clearly on overhead maps. The de Ross family had a long feud with the Tyrwhit family from the nearby village of Kettleby. According to legend, in 1411, the Tyrwhits attacked Melton Ross Manor with 500 men. Some 200 years later, James I erected Gallows, ordering that any deaths from the feud be treated as murder. The gallows are still standing on the border between Melton Ross and Wrawby, which is where I intend to begin the Wrawby video. According to the Bus Times website, you can catch a bus here, the number 4 service towards Brigg and Scunthorpe. These stops look a little unused to me though. The village has no shops. It used to have a post office, but that's now closed. It does retain a post box though, otherwise the nearest services are all in Barnetby or Brigg. Over the road here we see the entrance gates to Melton Hall. This was formerly the property and seat of the de Ross family. Records show in 1900 a William John Greyburn lived here. The only other thing of note along this part of the route is a telephone exchange which is on West Home Lane, which I thought was worth catching. Now we're approaching a railway bridge. This runs over a familiar railway line. This is the same line which runs through Curtin in Lindsey and Hibblestow. Whilst in those places it's a single track affair, here it's double tracked because most of the traffic on this line is freight. This part of the line is good for train spotters. Okay, so this is actually a circular route. There's a footpath here which runs alongside that railway line. It's down a hill. That's going to be interesting to get down. Runs basically alongside a field and the railway line on the other side. There's a bridge which will take us back over the railway line and then we're back to the A18 again. This path links the road we've just come from to Caister Road, and it runs alongside the railway line. It's not the easiest path I've ever had to walk on. Take a look at this. I imagine with it being early June, the grass had grown to this level and nobody had yet had chance to cut it back. It made for an interesting 5 minutes. Well, this is a footpath, I promise you, but it's just a bit overgrown in places. As you can see, I'm having to pick my way carefully through this undergrowth. Ugh. Thankfully as well, it's not all that long. When we get to the other end, it's back to the road, like I said earlier, and onto the A18 again, crossing a bridge on the way. Melton Ross's common lands were enclosed in 1798. In April of 1952, this parish gave up 78 acres of its land to neighbouring Barnetby, but it gained a different 26 acres at the same time from it. After the footpath had passed some farmland and a paddock, we're on a track outside some more houses. We've come past a spring too on that footpath called Welbeck Spring. We're now on Caister Road and we're in the hamlet of New Barnetby, which falls within Melton Ross's boundaries. The two settlements share a small village hall close to the railway line. And speaking of the line, Melton Ross is separated from New Barnetby by a level crossing, and this one is one of the more unusual ones. To cross this, you have to raise the barrier yourself. It's not fully automated. There's a button you must press to signal your intent to cross, and then the barriers are raised remotely. Mind you, if you're like me and you're on foot, you don't need to bother with that. There's a footbridge over the line, which gives a decent little view of the village. So I was going to press the button and show you how it worked, but a car has just come across and done it for me, and the barriers haven't gone down again, so I can't do it at the moment. So yeah, there you go, that's the crossing, DIY crossing here in Melton Ross. And once across the railway line, we have the former primitive Methodist chapel with its date stone of 1854 to look at next. This next section will take us back to the A18 again via a few properties on Caister Road. The aforementioned mound, the stronghold of the de Ross family, is behind these properties. These properties are known as council villas. There used to be a red telephone box here at one time, but it's now been removed. I believe you can still see it on Google Street View. And here's the A18 again. To the east here, there's a cafe called Cafe Muse, located at Hall Farm. Online reviews describe it as friendly and cosy, typical of North Lincolnshire then. Heading west, the road runs towards Brigg, and generally speaking it's just a collection of residential properties back towards the end of Race Lane, where we were earlier. Our route now takes a turn through a churchyard, and at last I found a parish notice board. I was beginning to think Melton Ross didn't have one. Whilst the Methodist chapel has been converted into holiday homes according to my sources, the Church of the Ascension still stands, and I was unsure of this one's status. When I was planning the route for this, I wasn't totally sure if this was a redundant church. I'm still not 100% sure now. What do you think, guys? Does it look redundant, or is this still active? It appears it is still an active church. It was built in 1867 when a former church on the site was destroyed by fire. The new church was designed by the architect E. Christian. There are 3 memorials inside the church. These are a World War I Roll of Honour, a World War II memorial, and the 3rd memorial is for an individual who died in South Africa. It's got a modest churchyard which has a new part and an old part. You can cut through the churchyard too via a rudimentary footpath which links you back to Middlegate Mews. This was originally where I was intending to park, but it's residents only parking on this street. And that's pretty much it for the main village. There's still some more to talk about though. Right, so I'm back here at the old forge where I began. There are 2 more things I want to talk about in this episode. The first of those things is going to come to you in picture form. It's a brewery. Behind my car there, up this road, and off to the left, is said brewery, and that's going to get its own special section in a moment. But to end this video, I'm going that way, left onto the A18, to find Melton Ross Quarry. And that's where I'll end. There's no picture bit otherwise today, so here comes the bit about the brewery next. Established by Tom Wood in a converted Victorian granary at a family's farm, since 1995 Lincolnshire Craft Beers has been brewing. The brewing buildings were historically used for farming. They're surrounded by beautiful working crop fields. Their range includes the Humber Hopster, a very pale ale with a blend of 3 American hops, the Lincoln Gold, which is a pale beer, and the Bomber County, a deep red premium bitter. Now, I'm not a beer expert, nor do I drink it on a regular basis. I'm more of a cider guy myself, but I can appreciate a craft beer from time to time. Check them out all, and remember, drink responsibly. Even our current Prime Minister tried them out, it seems, according to their Facebook page. To finish, we're at Melton Ross's very large working chalk quarry, located just off the B1211 road to nearby Croxton. Unlike some of the other working quarries in the area where the chalk is extracted by drags and ripping, the chalk at Melton Ross is extremely hard, so here it's drilled. Explosives are used too. Approximately 3,600 to 3,900 tonnes a day can be quarried. Most of this production is used in the blast furnaces at Scunthorpe Steelworks, and some is sold as construction material. Make no mistake about it, this is easily the largest landmark Melton Ross has. The quarry buildings can be seen for many miles around. And you can tell that you're in an area that's got a quarry because even the road is white, where chalk has been dragged out on the wheels and tyres and other various bits and bobs of vehicles that have gone between the two sites and along this road towards the motorway and the other way towards Grimsby. But there you go, that's Melton Ross, and yeah, nice little place, little interesting trek through the footpath, wasn't it? Very overgrown footpath, and a big quarry to finish with. Very varied one, this one. Not big enough for an actual picture bit, but I think the bit about the brewery will be good enough for that. And it's time for me to move on. Time for me to move on that way towards the next one. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.